Welcome to the Work Hard, Play Hard podcast. My name is Rob Murgatroyd, and I'm a former doctor turned lifestyle entrepreneur. Each week, I interview some of the best minds on the planet on the science of achievement and the art of fulfillment. Come take this journey with me. Excuses are over. It's time to live.
They always match my personality, like a fast action taker, but at the same time, I also analyze stuff. So I think that's why one of the reasons I'm successful is most people are one or the other. They're either a fast action taker or they're an overanalyzer, whereas I'm a fast action taker, but I'm analyzing at the same time. That's why my agency does so well, because within 10, 20 minutes of speaking to someone, I can already map out a path to make $1 million for that business. If you can have the best website and funnel in the world and pay a copywriter $50,000 for a top funnel, but if no one ever sees it, it's physically impossible to make sales.
Okay, before we jump into this interview, I want to invite you to be considered for my 2019 Traveling Mastermind. So go to workhardplayhardmastermind.com and fill out the application, and we'll jump on a call to see if you're a great fit. This year, we'll be in Boston doing lots of cool things like training with Tom Brady's trainer, Alex Guerrero. In the middle of the year, we'll be heading to Monaco doing things like vintage car rides through the French Riviera. And then we're going to wrap the year in Florence, Italy, doing things like truffle hunting and hot air ballooning over Florence. Look, life is all about fulfillment, and I really try and walk the walk. So if you are looking to be part of our tribe of 28 high-achieving entrepreneurs that are in the 6- and 7-figure range, fill out your application at workhardplayhardmastermind.com to be considered. So think of the mastermind as having two parts. The first is the trip itself, and the second part is what goes on over the 4 days within the mastermind. Our group of 28 entrepreneurs will help you brainstorm and accelerate what you want to achieve in 2019. And we'll do that through a variety of different exercises, brainstorming activities, breakout sessions, goal-setting sessions. You know the drill. So go to workhardplayhardmastermind.com, fill out an application, and we'll jump on a call to see if you're a fit. All right, let's jump into today's episode. What's up, everybody? This is Rob Murgatroyd. Welcome to another episode of the Work Hard, Play Hard show. This episode features Rudy Mawer. You can find him on Instagram and elsewhere at Rudy Mawer. So I wanted to have Rudy on the show for two reasons. First of all, he's created a $100 million company, and all of us listening who are trying to grow our businesses can pick up a nugget or two from somebody who's created a $100 million company. Secondly, he has a very strategic brain, and he approaches things differently than most of us. He's super pragmatic, very analytical, which I am not. So I always try and connect and learn from people who are. So Rudy has consulted with a ton of people, from the U.S. Navy deep sea divers, say that 3 times fast, NBA athletes, Hollywood celebrities, Major League Baseball players. The list goes on and on and on. He is an elite sports nutritionist and trainer working with Hollywood celebrities and elite athletes and NBA players and gold medalists and world record holders and bikini models, and it goes on and on. But the point is that he's created a $100 million business in this space, which is a crazy competitive space. So we talked about lots of things. We also talked about how his early years shaped how he looks at things now. And we talked about some of the things that he struggles with, turning his brain off and traveling around the world, which he loves to do. So it's a perfect work hard, play hard episode, I think. So be sure to take a screenshot of this episode, share it on the socials, and remember to tag me and at Rudy Mawer and let us know what you thought. So without further ado, please enjoy this conversation I had with Rudy Mawer. Rudy, welcome to the show.
Hey, man. How you doing?
I am doing really, really good. Well, judging from our little pre-chat conversation, it doesn't sound like you're from Alabama. Where are you from?
Close. From the UK. So, yeah, from England. Moved to Florida a few years ago.
So I think a good place to start would be in, I think I'm going to say it right, Leicester?
Leicester. Close.
Leicester. Oh, man. I toiled over saying that incorrectly. Okay. Can you describe for us what it was like growing up there, and maybe, now that you're in the States, how it's different from the States?
Yeah, sure. So, there's obviously a reason I moved, which I'll get into. But I think growing up, everyone, when I say, oh, I'm from England, they go, oh, wow, London's great. It'd be cool to live there. But that's like saying, oh, I'm from America. I live in New York, right? It's not always the same in different parts of England. So Leicester was a smaller city, especially by American standards, a very small place. And yeah, it definitely wasn't as good for kind of my entrepreneurial mindset and kind of what I wanted to achieve and how I, even was as a child, buying and selling and getting into entrepreneurial ventures as a teenager. No one really kind of gets you, whereas stuff like that, out the box thinking, I think is more accepted, and there's a lot more young entrepreneurs over here in the USA. So yeah, it was interesting. I mean, I moved because of some of those issues, and there was way more opportunity out here. But you don't know any different at the time, right?
Do you miss it at all?
No.
You don't miss it?
Nope. I go back once a year for family, but no, I don't miss anything about.
And when you're there, when you're there visiting your family, you're like, okay, well, this was fun, but it's time to go back.
Yeah, they know. I'm like, okay, is it 7 days yet? When's my flight? When's my flight home?
So you have been an entrepreneur for a lot of years. Can you tell us the story of how you got banned from selling in school, and how old were you when that happens?
Yeah, so I was, I think every school has this one or two kids that are always selling stuff. So that was me. I was making my parents go to like a wholesale, like Sam Club at the weekend, buying like big boxes of candy, and then I was going in and selling it. Or whenever I learned to use eBay super early, so I remember making my dad set up a PayPal like 20 years ago, and an eBay account for me when I was a kid. And I was, if there was ever like a new, every half a year or a year, there's a new fashion trend or there's a new toy trend. So I was buying all that on eBay from China and then bringing it in and selling it to everyone. And I kind of started selling a lot. So they told me basically I wasn't allowed to come in and be selling stuff in the playground anymore.
Do you think that fueled you?
I mean, I still did it. I just did it outside the school.
Yeah, but I mean, do you think that, sometimes when somebody says, no, you can't do something, it makes you dig your heels in deeper and go, no, screw you, I'm doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I looked into it that much as a kid. I'm just always like problem solution kind of guy. So I don't think I even really thought about it. I was like, oh, okay, I'll just sell after school and before school outside the gates. It's not a problem.
That's awesome. Just kind of matter of fact. So if we were to fast forward to 2016, why did you decide to get your master's in sports and exercise science?
So I guess that was just I've always liked to kind of be a little different. And everyone always is like, oh, well, if you go and get a formal education, you can't grow a business and be an entrepreneur. And I was like, well, I'll try and do both. And I ended up getting a full scholarship and a first class master's degree and undergrad degree while building a business. So I get my family say I always like to burn the candle at both ends kind of thing. And I think I have an ADHD brain, so I have to be doing way more. I can't ever be doing one thing. I have to be doing way more than everyone else. And I was in the health and fitness industry for 10 years. I love that industry. I'm very like data and very, like I said, problem solution. So science is cool because it's like, oh, these are the problems. We don't actually know the answer. Let's go figure out a real solution and prove it with science. I've always been very science driven. Like I don't like not knowing things. I want answers. And at the time I was in the health space. So I knew the formal science background would help my business side of things too, by adding just more proof to what I was doing at the time.
Where does that come from? That sort of level of thinking? Is that from one of your parents, or is that just that specific to you? Or
yeah, good question. I don't know both my parents are smart and they are, they're kind of a little out of the box thinkers and they've done cool stuff in their life. But I don't know if it's just due to one of the parents but just growing up, I was like a chess champion. So I was very strategic all the time. So I just had that mindset.
Have you ever done one of those personality tests? You know the ones I'm talking about, right? Like there's like a million of them. Strength Finders,
exactly.
Myers-Briggs.
Yeah, I've done a couple. I'm always like an outlier in 2 areas.
You're that guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Which one are you dominant in? Do you remember?
No, I can't. I mean, what are the 4? I'll tell you right away.
There's so many. It just depends on which one you did. There's
they always
so many.
My personality, like a fast action taker, but at the same time, I also analyze stuff. So I think that's why one of the reasons I'm successful is most people are one or the other. They're either a fast action taker or they're an overanalyzer. Whereas I'm a fast action taker, but I'm analyzing at the same time.
Okay, well, that's going to explain how you got into $100 million businesses. We'll talk about that in just a sec. But we talked a little bit earlier about the U.S. and moving to Tampa. Why did you choose Tampa?
So I was always picking between Cali and Florida because I hated the English weather. It's gray and rainy and cold. And I've always loved the sun. So they were my 2 choices. Cali would have been cool, but Florida had a great course for what I wanted to do in my master's degree. And then they also offered me a full scholarship. So it was a no-brainer to really do Florida and Tampa.
Yeah.
Because, it was only a 1-year course, and the master's degree was designed for more like adults. So it was night. It was a lot of online. And then there was a few classes, not many, but they were all in the evening. So it was cool. It was good for me because I was running businesses, right? So it was perfect to kind of not interrupt too much what I was doing rather than like classes every day.
But you decided to stay, though. You're still there.
Well, I don't work. Yeah, I stayed in Tampa now. But I'm so the last 2 years, I flew 50 times a year. So a week nearly once a week on average. From next month, we actually leave Tampa and we're going to go full nomad. So even though I'm still here, I'm like, not, it's just great tax and it's a great place for my business to be set up. But I'm in Cali every month and traveling every week to talk at events and masterminds and stuff like that.
Would you live in Cali if the tax situation was different?
Yeah, no, I think I would definitely. I love San Diego and I have a lot of connections in both LA and San Diego. LA is maybe a little too hectic. I can't stand the traffic, but
yeah, it's abominable. I'm moving. The reason why I'm asking these questions is we debated. I have a 4-year-old daughter and a wife, and we debated whether or not we had the exact same scenario. We wanted to live warm. And so we went Florida, California. Florida is super humid. Yep. California is super expensive. And, you just go back and forth and trying to decide. So I was wondering how you finally arrived at that. But I think I'm clear on that.
I like Florida because it's chilled out. So when, I'm moving 1,000,000 miles an hour, how masterminds and events are, it's like 7 a.m. till midnight every day. And because I do those back to back, I can do 4 events back to back, flying in between. So it's nice to come back and I live on the water and I can I say I relax. I don't because I end up overworking because I've been traveling, but at least from an atmospheric part, it's more relaxing. Whereas if I was to be going all over the place then into LA, I'd be like just more high energy all the time and it would be harder to kind of cool off a little before the next trip.
Yeah, you're living in chaos constantly.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the mastermind. So you do 4 of those a year?
So I'm in 4 paid, and then I speak at like another 5 or 6, and guest speak all the time. Yeah.
Okay, great. And when you're guest speaking on the masterminds, are you helping people strategically, or is there a topic that you are brought in to speak on?
A bit of both. So most of the time, I'm speaking on Facebook ads, funnels, overall online marketing strategy, kind of my journey building a multi-million-dollar business and what I think is important from both a marketing strategy standpoint, but also a mindset standpoint, because, as we know as entrepreneurs, that's a big part of it. And then everyone kind of loves my talks, and I always get feedback from the people hosting the events and speakers and attendees because I'm very strategy based, right? So I'll come in and actually give them tangible stuff to take away in action or send to their team. whereas a lot of people don't. And there's nothing wrong with people that don't. You know, they're talking about big visions, mindset, that's all great. But I think every event needs a mix, because if you leave just kind of with general stuff, it's never actionable. So I come in and give a lot of actionable advice too.
Let's talk a little bit about the Facebook ad company. You have so many different companies, and I'm trying to decide which lane I want to go down. But since we're here on Facebook ads, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
What was the reason you decided to start it? Let's start there.
So I played with Facebook ads like 8 years ago when I had one of my other little companies in the UK, like running nightclub events. So I played around with it when it first came out for that and for my fitness business. Then never did anything with it, didn't really understand it. And then, a few years ago, I was really high up in the fitness space. So that's my main company, I guess. And then my other main company was the agency, the Facebook ad stuff now. But I guess I learned it just because I had to learn it to develop my fitness business. It was out of a need. So I was very high up in the fitness space. I was an expert, and there's a lot of entrepreneurs that can resonate with this. They're experts at what they do, but they're not reaching as many people as they want to reach, not having the impact. And I was very frustrated because I wanted to have the impact. I knew a lot. And there was people out there selling health fads and stupid diets that had no science background, had no clue what they were doing, no experience. So I was very passionate at the time about making that impact and giving people good information. So I learned it just to really do that. And then I did millions of dollars in 2 years because of Facebook ads and funnels and the marketing stuff I learned. And that kind of then formed my agency now, which is one of the biggest in the world, because everyone was, hey, Rudy, come, I had a lot of friends through 10 years of being in the industry. So everyone was like, Rudy, come help me. And eventually it got so big that it formed an agency, and then we grew it.
And the people for the people who are listening and say, hey, look, he knows what he's doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I would love to, have him take a look at my Facebook ads and help me. Do you take on, I don't want to say lower end clients, but let's say newbies, or is this only for people that are spending millions?
Yeah, so we used to. Now, just because of the skill set we have, and I think what's unique is we are able to scale millions. We don't really take on people from the ground up unless they have a really great offer that converts, or they're already doing, hundreds of thousands on their store. So it depends, but most of the time we have like a course and a transition piece in progress to help people that are starting out. And then once they start out, if they do have a good offer, hook, story, and they can scale it a little, that's when we tend to come in.
Okay, got it. Let's talk a little bit about some of the projects that you've done in the world of fitness. Can you tell me the story of the Navy hiring you to train their deep sea divers?
Yeah, so like I said, I got very high up in the health space, health and fitness and nutrition space. So I work with elite athletes, NBA teams, some celebrities. And then, I flew up and trained and consulted with those guys on, adding some of the science stuff, right? Because you can get Navy SEALs and elite athletes and wrestlers. They're the best in the world at what they do. Physically, they're extremely fit. But there's still ways they can become even better by using scientific methods that not many people know about. That, what I always say is when you're extremely good at what you do in any industry, 1% or these little tweaks make a big, big difference. When you're just starting out, you have to master the basics, stay consistent, put the time in. Whereas when you're elite, it's like how do I go from 99 to 100 or 98 to 99? So I kind of came in and just went over some higher end science stuff and practical applications of that. And things not direct to just training. It's like how to eat better, like nutrition tips, sleep, hormones, supplements, everything like that.
Got it. What are the common mistakes you think now that you've sort of been in the fitness industry and you had a successful Facebook ad company or have? What are some of the common mistakes that people make when they're either just starting out or they're new to it and they're making their Facebook ads? Like where's the mistake usually happen from your experience?
Sure. So I mean, I have a good analogy. I teach people for Facebook ads and online marketing that's actually based on health and fitness. So in health and fitness, if you know much about it, if you want to get in amazing shape or optimal health, you need to master both diet and exercise. They're the two key variables. You can get okay results by being really good at one, but if the other one isn't, like, you're not doing it or it's not very good, you're never going to get great results. So if you want an amazing body, you need to have perfect diet and perfect training. And what I see online marketing and selling products online or growing a brand online or a business, it comes down to two key fundamentals again. As long as obviously the foundations are in place, like you have a good product, a good story, it's people want to buy it. Obviously that's important. But once you have those basics in place, online marketing is pretty simple. You need traffic, which is Facebook ads, and obviously Google, YouTube ads, Instagram ads. You need traffic, and that's like one side. And then the other side is you need a website or a funnel or a sales pipeline or a sales system that converts that traffic. And you need both. You can have the best website and funnel in the world and pay a copywriter $50,000 for a top funnel, but if no one ever sees it, it's physically impossible to make sales. And vice versa. I could run your ads and send you all the traffic in the world from Facebook, thousands of hits a day. We were getting 1 million hits a month. But if that funnel or website or sales pipeline is all over the place, it doesn't tell a good story, doesn't make it clear what your products are and the benefits to the user, it's not really going to convert and do well. You'd obviously make some sales just because of the sheer volume, but it's going to be super, suboptimal. So I think the biggest thing if you're starting out is before you even start Facebook ads, you've got to make sure you do have a great website that actually is like a marketing site. You have a funnel or a landing page or a sales page that converts and works and is actually written with good copy. So copy is the text on there. And that's like one of the most underappreciated skills in the marketing world. Copywriters can make 10, 20 grand, 50 grand just to write a single page because it's that important for big online businesses. And then once that is in place, that's when the Facebook ads now become important.
Yeah, so you've got to have a baseball and a bat. Like you're not playing baseball. You're not playing baseball with just a bat or a ball. You got to have both. That makes sense. I love the analogy that you used with body because as much as I try and eat like shit and go to the gym and think I can work my way out of it, the truth is you got to do both. Yep. I mean, I know this, and I still say, okay, let's go to the gym, let's work out. The abs will come in, and it just doesn't happen. Yeah. So you're 100% right. You've said before that it's pretty easy to make $1 million when you understand marketing and you have a great product and a story and add value to, your experience. What advice would you give to somebody that's like, I guess I don't have one of them that's working because I'm not making sales, the way I want them to make. Like, where do you tell them to go?
I'm a big believer in pay to play. So, if you want to be successful in life quicker, you just got to pay someone that's more experienced than you. Or if you have a great network, you don't even need to pay them, right? But either way, you need to come in and have someone just figure it out for you, or you've got to spend a few years learning it, like myself. I wanted to learn it because I knew it was going to stay with me for the rest of my life, and becoming a great marketer was a key skill for me as an entrepreneur, but most people don't. So, go just find someone like me or a good marketing buddy of yours. Just have him come in for 30 to 60 minutes. And like, my brain is so strategic, and I've seen so many businesses, even on stage at events with hundreds of people. I've had a guy ask a question, and in 10 minutes, I broke down his entire business on a whiteboard or whatever, and shown him where he's going wrong and how if he doesn't fix that, he'll never scale. So people like me are, just the same with any expert in any space, that they're experts in that space and they're super experienced, or they should be, and they can just pretty much say probably right away, like, hey, this is where you're at, this is where you're going wrong, this is what you've got to do to scale it up. But most of the time it is what I said. It's either as long as the product, the story and the hook and everything, the copy is good, it's basically either your funnel or you don't have enough traffic.
So you sort of see things, it sounds like, geometrically. You sort of see it like spatially in pieces. You're not like linear. You're more spatial. That's interesting. I always envy guys like you because I have to like go to the first page and then go to the second page. It's really difficult for me to see things on a hole and then move them around.
Yeah,
like,
that's kind
Tom
of exactly
Cruise.
what I am amazing at. And I think that's why my agency does so well. Because within 10, 20 minutes of speaking to someone, I can already map out a path to make $1 million for that business.
That's amazing.
Just my brain.
That's great. That's great. I want to talk a little bit about how you don't lose your marbles. You're currently creating... Yeah. Well, you're currently creating over $100 million in revenue for these multiple businesses that you run. What is your strategy for not losing your head?
So, yeah, like I say, it's debatable. No, it's, yeah, I mean, I'm very I don't know. A lot of people say if they had my life, they would have had a breakdown or they don't know how I manage. But I've always had a great, strong mindset. Like I've done hundreds of personal development books, mindset books. So, I fail every day, but it's just part of the journey and it's fine. I don't let it get to me. I have staff, I have to fire them, remove them. They vanish, all part of the journey. So I think the biggest part of it is just how you look at everything in life. Because then once you have that mindset, unless it's super serious, nothing can really go wrong and you understand rather than it being like a freak out moment or, oh, I'm going to quit or questioning yourself. You're just like, oh, okay, that's part of the journey. So what do we do to fix it now? Just exactly like, I guess I've always had this, right? Because you asked me that question about when I was at school, when I was 8 years old, and they said I couldn't sell in the school anymore. I was like, oh, okay, so I'll just sell outside the gate. So I'm just, I'm a problem solution guy. I'm not an emotional guy that's going to dwell on it or get down about it or anything like that. Or if I do, it'll be for a minute and then I move on. So I think that's a big, big part of it. And then also I'm I'm a scientist, and scientists are all about creating procedures because we have to have our studies replicated. So everything we do in our business, I'm very SOP driven. Luckily learned that a few years ago, and I have lots of friends that have done $50, $100 million businesses. So they've also emphasized, do SOPs, do systems. So we have that nailed down. We have 20 plus employees, and I understand I spend half my day either looking after and managing employees or finding new ones, because I know that's the thing that will take my business to tens of millions of dollars.
Does that mindset for you backfire the other way, where you become so analytical or so strategic that you're... Well, I'll just leave the question there. Does it backfire the other way, where you wish you weren't so strategic sometimes in other areas of your life?
Well, like I say, I'm also very luckily paired to be a super action taker. Like I have an idea and tomorrow I want to have it live and running traffic to it to test it. So I think a lot of people with my brain, the strategic side, they lack the other side of it. And that's why they pair very well with entrepreneurs that are fast moving. But luckily I have both. So from a business standpoint, I don't think so. From a personal standpoint, maybe a little, but I'm also, I grew up very empathetic and caring as an individual when I'm outside of business. So I still have that caring emotion. I'm very emotionally intelligent. All my teachers and stuff growing up said that. So I mean, I have that as well. So I can understand, sometimes I can be extremely zeroed in and unemotional and no, this is how it is. This is how it has to be done. Go do it. But, I always try and kind of step out of the box and look at it from an outside standpoint when I can. And I mean, ultimately, if you want to build $100 million businesses, you have to be like that. You need some emotional part, but you have to be, results driven at the end of the day, because it's your life, your future, your reputation.
All right, we're going to switch gears a little bit and move into the second half of the show, which is about the art of fulfillment. I look at it basically two ways. There's the science of achievement, which is sort of the SOP, way that you talked about, and to use a Tony Robbins ism. There's the yin and the yang, right? Mm-hmm. There's the art of fulfillment. So when you were looking at periods in your life where you felt like you were in the zone, however you define that, what are some of the daily or weekly practices that you've spotted in terms of pattern recognition that when you look back on those sweet spots, you've been performing really, really well? Are there any particular daily, weekly practices, morning habits, or whatever that comes to mind that you see as consistent?
Yeah, so I do a lot of what a lot of the other entrepreneurs do. So I'm sure a lot of us repeat ourselves on this question. So, I come in and I start my day and I spend 20 minutes kind of, everyone has that morning ritual, right? For me, it used to be, I was always sporty and athletic. So for me, it would be I live on the bay here in Florida. So I would always go and bike on the bay in the morning to clear my head. And now I don't always do that because we're busier and I can't take an hour away, but I have an amazing balcony with a big ocean view. So I just kind of sit or stand on there with music for 20 minutes and just kind of wake up. And that's how that's my morning meditation, if you will. I don't do meditation. That's it for me. Probably as close as I'll ever get because of my ADHD brain. So I do that and then I write down the tasks for the day and then just kind of map out my day. So I'm not as, overly as strategic as some guys that spend an hour doing 20 different things in the morning because I do like to get up and dive in. But I think that's important, just having a map out for your day or a plan for your day. And then obviously long-term goals and goal setting. So, my phone, not anymore, but I used to have a screensaver of all my goals for the year. So you look at your phone 100 times a day. I would see my goals 100 times a day. Now I have lots of whiteboards in my house and all over my house. So I can see how much our revenue is, how much our expenses are, where our clients are at, who's happy, who needs help, big weekly tasks, big goals, potential clients, potential opportunities. So I guess surrounding myself by that too.
That's great. That's great. So you physically surround yourself with all of those things. I love that.
Yeah. So I never turn off, which can be a problem for some people, but I'm an extremist. So I do, when I'm home, I work till I go to sleep at midnight. I get back up at 8, 9 a.m. and I start again and I work through it, and I can switch off, but I'm more of an extremist. So I want to work ridiculous for 4 months and then I'll go and have 5 days in Cabo and just check in an hour a day kind of thing.
Classic work hard, play hard stuff. Yep. That's the exact reason for this podcast. So if you were a critic doing a review of your life so far, what would you say?
That's a tough question. I would say I probably achieved a decent amount, but I still have a lot to learn. I think I've had an interesting journey, how I combined marketing to fuel my passion, and then that actually built a second business. And I think that's the beauty of life, is you never know, the more and more I've learned in business is you never know what door's going to open or what opportunity is going to happen when you take action. So I guess that's now why we never miss an event. We travel so much because I always, 95% of events or places I go, something big comes of it. So I'm a big believer in that.
I love that. If you could spend 1 month anywhere in the world, where would it be and why?
So my two favorite places are Hawaii and Cabo. So I've been in Hawaii a few times, and Cabo I go like 3-4 times a year. They're both, I'm big on the tropical climate, so I love both of them. Cabo I find, I don't know why I love it so much. I've traveled all around the world many times, but it's kind of a perfect balance for me. Like, especially this hotel has a great pool area, restaurant area that's looking over the bay and the mountains and the ocean, so I can work and I'm in a great work environment. I can go hiking, I can go shopping, there's great restaurants, loads of activities. So I guess that's why I love Cabo. And then I love Honolulu in Hawaii for the same reason, because I'm very big into shopping and fashion, and they have all, one side you have a Louis Vuitton and then the beach and surfing. So for me, that's like the perfect setup,
Yeah, it's amazing. I love Cabo too. We did, what did we do? Las Ventanas the last time we were there. It was awesome. Really, really cool spot. Yeah. If you can only go to one restaurant before you die, where would your last meal be?
Oh gosh, that's the worst question ever.
Why?
Well, because I love food.
Because you love food?
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, it's the best though, because I'm going to get you to narrow it down pretty quickly.
Cool. Well, I'm everyone that knows me knows I'm obsessed with cheese, so it would probably just be an Italian restaurant. Yeah.
Interesting. I just booked 6 weeks in Florence.
Oh, cool. So we go in summer too. We're traveling around Spain, Italy, Greece, France.
We're doing the same. We're actually taking 4 months off.
Yeah.
Starting in June.
Okay, me too.
And that's awesome. We'll be in. I'll get you the schedule. Maybe we can connect.
Yeah, totally.
We'll be in Mykonos for a couple of weeks as well.
Cool. Yeah, we got a cruise there too.
Very, very cool. What's the thing that's rocking your world now that has absolutely nothing to do with work?
I guess everything else outside of it. I know that isn't specific, but there's normally, I think in life, it's very hard to have everything dialed in, right? Like if I tend to notice, at least with me, because I'm an extremist, if work's going great, I don't have a relationship or I'm not training or, there's issues elsewhere. So, I mean, I guess my personal life's great. I have a great relationship with my partner, family, friends, hundreds of friends. So I would say, I know that's not super specific, but I would just say that my outside relationships are good, which is not always the case when you're working and doing as much as I'm doing as an entrepreneur.
When you find yourself uninspired, what sorts of things do you do to find your way back?
So I've only really, since I really got into entrepreneurship, I only went through this once. And it was fascinating because I went through it and it was not recent, but last year, because both my businesses were doing well. And you would think if both your businesses are doing well, you're more inspired, right? But it was kind of weird because it was like I had two 7-figure businesses that were both growing, and I was kind of torn, like, which one do I go down? And it's so funny because like the mental switch, I literally had it one day in a taxi ride. I'll never forget it. I was like, okay, I'm going to go all in with my agency. And then like I instantly restored my energy of like the whole, waking up at 2 a.m. to go and write on a whiteboard, working 18 hours a day and not wanting to go to sleep. So I guess that was the only time I've not been super inspired and motivated. So I guess just getting clarity on what you want to do with your life, what your goals are, what's the best potential from a logistical, strategy, financial side. Yeah, but I'm not, like I said, I've always been lucky because I find all this fascinating. I love it. I love money. I love success and the ability to impact and help millions of people, and how you also get to travel the world and make loads of amazing friends. I have more friends in all different parts of the US than I could ever imagine. So yeah.
I love it. So let's move into the last section of the show, which is the rapid fire round. And feel free to answer as quickly or as slowly as you like. It's basically a first thing that comes to mind round.
Cool.
What would one of your friends say is your superpower?
My British accent and white teeth.
What's one of the things you're afraid of right now?
Being average.
What keeps you up at night?
What I want to do the next day and my goals.
What's the one thing that you want to get better at?
Life in general. I don't know if there's one specific thing. I just want to become a better partner, one day a better parent, better businessman, a better friend.
Yeah. What book have you reread the most?
So a couple. So 10X by Grant Cardone, because I just love the mindset side of that because I am extreme. Tim Ferriss' 4-Hour Work Week got me into this 10 years ago. And then Brian Tracy's stuff's good as well, like Goals and Eat This Frog or Eat That Frog.
Yeah, three great authors for sure. What is your guilty pleasure?
Food. I eat way too much food, and it's fine when I was in my fitness space, but now I'm on my bum every day working 18 hours. It's not.
Yeah. It goes back to what we were talking about earlier. What's one thing that you own and probably should throw out, but you never will?
Oh, just I'm into fashion, so I have so many clothes that I never will wear again, some I've never worn, and yeah.
If you had to give a TED Talk on nothing that you're known for, nothing that you speak about, and it could be on anything that you like to do or have a passion for, what would it be?
Cool. Oh, that's a tough one. Nothing I'm known for. I guess my childhood upbringing and how that evolved me into an entrepreneur, and maybe the importance of a childhood upbringing from a child that doesn't actually have kids, because I don't think many people really know my childhood upbringing, but I do. The more I've learned, the more I've seen that it maybe helped me a lot. I didn't really appreciate it until the last few months when I spoke to people and dived in it a little more. Like, I would have never mentioned any of what I've mentioned today half a year ago. I didn't think it was relevant. But I don't know if that would make a good TEDx talk. Probably would to a psychologist.
I think it would.
For sure. But I would have to package
No,
it.
I think it would be good.
Yeah.
I think it would be good. I'd like to listen to it for sure. So the last question is, we're going to change things up a little bit. What one question would you like to ask me?
I guess, I love when people just say, because I think experience is the biggest thing you can never replace, even if someone's way more successful financially. So I guess, what are your, 2 or 3 or 1 biggest life lessons from experience that maybe a younger or me at 27 wouldn't know yet?
Time passes really fucking fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm 52 years old now, and I will tell you that you blink your eyes and you're in your 50s, and you can't get that time back. And when I have 2 children. I have a 21-year-old and I have a 4-year-old.
Yep.
And I'm able to see the difference in who I was as a father 20 years ago versus who I am now as a father. So I've got perspective. Yeah. And the advice that I would give my younger self would be to chill out a little bit, spend a little bit more time enjoying life. The work will be there when you get back, and recognize that particularly when, your 4 or 5-year-olds has your time, those formative years, like what you said earlier about your potential TEDx talk, those years are so formative for them that it will serve them for their whole life. And if you're gone working all the time and you don't have the time for them, it really affects who they become later in life. So I would tell every entrepreneur, if you have children, just make sure that you know that when you're going to have children, that you're going to be very strategic about carving out the time to enjoy it, because work creep will always come in and it will always trump the other. Make sense?
Yeah, no, I love that. Yeah, and I think I'm lucky to have a lot of friends that are older than me with children, and they all tell me the same. So it's been good. And that's why I say I work so hard now, because when I have kids in a few years, I want to be set up and ready that I can do exactly what you say.
I just figured out who you sound like.
Who's that?
Just hit me. Mark Ronson. Do you know who he is?
I don't. No.
Okay. Mark Ronson has created, Google him and actually YouTube him and listen to his voice. He was just on Howard Stern last week. He's created, all the Bruno Mars hits. He's a producer. He's done millions and millions.
I do. Yeah.
But he was raised in England and in the US. And he has this like half English, half American and half British accent. Yeah. And that's what you sound like. I'm telling you.
People think it's Australian a lot of the time.
That's why he gets that too. Well, listen, I thoroughly enjoyed this. Do you have any final words, suggestions, or an ask for the people that are listening?
No, not at all. I think just, an ask is, you'll probably agree, just kind of go out there and be the best you can be, because I don't think the world has too many average people. And I think as entrepreneurs, we're here to make an impact, both within our families and within the world. So go do it.
I love it, brother. Well, thank you so much for taking the time with us today. I know you've got a million things to do, but I really do appreciate the time.
Yeah, totally. Great to connect.
All right. Thanks for listening. If you love this episode and you know someone that needs some help in either stepping up their work hard game or their play hard game, it would mean the world to me if you shared this podcast with them to help me get this movement out there. So if you like what you heard, head on over to iTunes, take 30 seconds and leave me a 5-star review, and I will be forever grateful. So until the next episode, excuses are over. It's time to live.